brought to you by Talebot Bedtime Stories, personalized tales for kids aged 0 to 8. Want to create a bedtime story for your child? Visit talebotai.com/create. Now, let's sit back and enjoy the story.
Madelyn and Marcel, the Parisian Cheese Chase. A special bedtime story for Madelyn. Once upon a time in the heart of Paris, a delightful 6-year-old girl named Madelyn lived in a charming old house with her family and their cheeky cat, Frou-Frou. Madelyn was a cheerful girl with a heart bursting with kindness, always eager to share her toys, treats, and tales with those around her. One radiant summer morning, a peculiar guest arrived, a traveling mouse named Marcel. Marcel came from a far-off countryside, dreaming of tasting the wide variety of Parisian cheese. He had heard how cheese in Paris was like no other, and he wanted to sample all the flavors. He had a backpack full of maps, a tiny suitcase, and an enormous appetite for cheese. Marcel, being a mouse, needed a cozy place to stay and found his way into Madelyn's house. He discovered a grand pantry filled with delightful cheese. He was in cheese heaven, savoring the camembert's creamy richness, the Roquefort's tangy edge, and the Boursin's smooth and garlicky divinity. However, Marcel's cheese-tasting adventures were cut short when Frou-Frou discovered the tiny intruder. The chase was on. Marcel dashed around the house, leaping over spoons and sliding under rugs, with Frou-Frou hot on his tail. Madelyn, hearing the commotion, rushed to see what was happening. Seeing her cat chasing a frantic mouse, she quickly intervened. "No, Frou-Frou. Leave the poor mouse alone." Madelyn scolded gently, scooping Marcel up in her small hands. Marcel, trembling with fear, thanked Madelyn for saving him. He introduced himself, shared his cheese-tasting adventure, and apologized for causing trouble. Madelyn, with her kind heart, felt sorry for Marcel and decided to help him. She promised to protect Marcel from Frou-Frou and share her family's cheese, but only if Marcel agreed to behave and not scare Frou-Frou. Marcel gratefully accepted the conditions, thrilled to continue his cheese quest. Madelyn introduced Marcel to her friends, explaining his love for cheese. They were all fascinated and agreed to share their cheese with Marcel. The children even organized a grand cheese-tasting event for Marcel at Madelyn's house. Everyone in the neighborhood was invited, and they all brought their favorite cheeses for Marcel to taste. The day of the grand cheese-tasting was filled with joy and laughter. Marcel was the star, delighting everyone with his knowledge of cheese and his charming stories from his travels. The children learned about different types of cheese, where they came from, and how they were made. It was not only a fun day, but also an educational one. However, the day took a turn when Frou-Frou, enticed by the smell of cheese, snuck into the party. He spotted Marcel and was about to pounce when Madelyn stepped in. She reminded Frou-Frou of the promise she had made to Marcel, that he wouldn't be harmed. Frou-Frou hesitated, looking back and forth between Madelyn and Marcel. Finally, he meowed in agreement, and understanding established. From that point on, Frou-Frou and Marcel coexisted peacefully, with Frou-Frou even growing fond of the little mouse. The grand cheese tasting was a success, with Marcel declaring it the best day of his life. He thanked Madelyn and her friends for their kindness and for teaching him the true meaning of friendship. He realized that sharing not only meant dividing what you have, but also multiplying the joy it brings. The story of Madelyn, Marcel, and the grand cheese tasting became a legend in their Parisian neighborhood. And if you ever visit Paris and stumble upon a lively cheese festival where children play and a mouse named Marcel presides, remember the story of Madelyn, the girl who taught a mouse about friendship and shared her world of cheese. As the moon cast a silver glow over Paris, Madelyn tucked Marcel into a tiny bed she had made for him. She whispered, "Bonne nuit, Marcel. I'm glad you chose our house for your cheese adventure." As Marcel drifted to sleep, dreaming of cheese and friendship, Madelyn learned that sharing brought joy not only to those she shared with, but also to herself. She realized that the world was like a big wheel of cheese, and sharing a slice with others made the wheel turn round with love and laughter. And so, my dear child, remember Madelyn's story and the lessons she learned. Share with those around you, be kind, make friends, and you'll discover just how delightful the cheese of life can be. Sweet dreams, little one. May your dreams be filled with adventures as exciting as Madelyn and Marcel's cheese chase in Paris. Bonne nuit.
Thank you for joining us on this enchanting journey. If you enjoyed tonight's story, remember, the magic doesn't have to end here. Craft your own adventure with Talebot by visiting talebotai.com/create. And as a special treat, use the coupon code TALE99 at checkout to get your bedtime story for just 99 cents, instead of the usual $2.99. Sweet dreams, and until our next tale.